Hello and welcome back. This is Jesse Bergman, lead designer for Punch and Entertainment, and I'm here today to talk to you about the command window. So all of the videos up to this point have hinted and talked a little bit about the command window, and maybe you've picked up a little bit on how the command window works, but the command window is a very interesting section of the game. It's a section where players are allowed to take actions and try to gain tactical advantages and change the condition of the battlefield and do all kinds of things to really mess up their opponent as well as gain advantages over their opponent in terms of play. So I'm playing from the Jotun side. I'm going to simulate that I'm playing against a Scythian player because I want to show you the power of the command window, and I want to show you how to play tactics and condition cards. So please keep in mind, in this video, we're in the fourth round of play here. We've played sites, we've put combatants onto the battlefield, we've started moving through the game, and now we're ready to really start trying to gain a leg up on our opponent. We feel comfortable that we've got some powerful abilities maybe down here, maybe some powerful abilities from our hand, etc., etc. And so from here, I want to spend some time discussing command windows. So let's talk about saying we're in the fourth turn and I've played an influence card. I'm now going to my site phase and I don't have a site to play, but I want to go ahead and reveal a condition card, and I want to reveal Spoils of War. Now, Spoils of War, you've seen me use this card a number of times to get a Sularia counter when we're talking about other steps of the game, but I haven't really explained how to play this card yet, and now's the time to do that. So on the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the green upward arrow symbol. This is called Threshold. Now, remember I talked about influence generation and influence pool? Threshold does not care about what your influence in the influence pool is. I could have spent all my influence this turn, and I would still be able to play a Spoils of War, provided that I have the threshold, influence threshold, met. And I meet the influence threshold by generating, in the case of Spoils of War, 2. So we're now in the site phase. I can't spend any influence from my pool because I don't have a site to play. But if I had a site to play, let's just say I had 4 influence in my pool, and I wanted to put out a Storm Citadel. And that Storm Citadel costs 4 influence. That would deplete my influence pool. However, that doesn't stop me from playing Spoils of War. Spoils of War says I can put an influence counter or a Solarian counter on target site that I control. And in this case, I'm going to target, I have to tell my opponent when I play the spoils that I'm going to target the Watchtower. Now, because this is an action and I met the threshold, I have 4 influence generated, and the Spoils of War only has a threshold of 2. I've met the threshold to be able to play as many Spoils of Wars as I want. My opponent says, okay, I don't like that you've played a Spoils of War, and so therefore I'm going to Defense Override as a response. Now, the Defense Override says all sites controlled by opponent get a -0, -2 until the end of the turn. Now, this doesn't look very powerful to me because that means my Watchtower is still at 1 defense, my Citadel is going to be at 5, my Shipyard is going to be at 3 when this resolves, and so my spoil still looks pretty solid. But I can pass here, and I'm going to choose to pass because I still think I've got the leg up. My opponent goes, nope, I have 3 influence generated, and because I have 3 influence generated, I can play a second Defense Override. Now I have a problem. As a Jotun player, my Watchtower, which is normally 3 defense, is now -1 if this Defense Override resolves, and I'm going to lose the Watchtower, and I'm going to lose the target for the Spoils of War. That's a problem for me that I have to figure out how to handle. Unfortunately, in this case, I don't have a response, so I have to say I pass. The Defense Override, my opponent will then pass. The Defense Override would resolve either back to the influence row or the damage pile, depending upon where it was played from. The second one would resolve. The Watchtower is going to be eliminated and go to my damage pile. I do lose 1 health and go from 25 to 24, which I would mark on my notepad or use dice and deduct from my dice. And then my Spoils of War now resolves, but because the target was the Watchtower at the time of play, I don't get the Solarian counter. So not only did he eliminate a Watchtower, He also reduced my Sularium output because I lost the Watchtower's 1 as well as the 1 counter from the Spoils of War. Pretty effective play here in the sight phase. So now I go to the combatant phase and I add my Sularium, and I have 3 Sularium. Now, 3 Sularium is not enough for me to get a combatant out because I don't have a combatant in my hand. I'm going to grab a combatant just to show you how I can maybe circumvent this a little bit. And I'm going to grab a Lord Oathkey the Hawk. Okay, so if I have Lord Oathkey the Hawk, I have only 3 Sularium, 1 from the Storm Citadel, 1 from the Shipyard, and 1 from the Spoils of War. I now need to take advantage of the command window that occurs in the Sularium phase. And so the reason why I'm going to use that command window is I have another tactic card. This tactic card is called Strength in Numbers. Strength in Numbers says it is only playable during my Sularium phase, which is what I'm in. Sorry. And it says, whenever you play Strength in Numbers, you gain X Sularium, where X is equal to the number of Jotun combatants you control. So in this case, I'll play it. My opponent goes, okay, I pass. I don't have a response to the Strength in Numbers. I say, okay, great. I will get 2 additional points of Sularium. So instead of making 3 this turn, I actually generate 5, and I have 5 Sularium in my Sularium pool. Well, coincidentally, that's enough for my Lord Oathkey. So I'll play Lord Oathkey with 4 of my 5. That does leave 1 Sularium in my pool if I have a reason for it. I still generated 5 for the turn. So now, it's time to go to attacking. I've played a combatant. We've done a couple of command windows this turn. It's time to attack. And I'm going to choose to attack into an opponent's site. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that site is a Sularium mining station. And things are looking pretty good for me because I have showing 6 attack. My opponent doesn't have any defenders, so it looks like I'm going to be in pretty good shape. I declare attackers. There is a command window if I want to leverage it right here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to pass on it, and I'm going to go to the declare defender step. My opponents can't declare defenders. I'm going to pass on the command window, and so will my opponent. These guys are going to become attackers now, and I'm going to have the final command window of this attack. Now, I could leave this attack as is. If I pass, I force my opponent to play. Tactically, that makes a lot of sense. However, maybe I'm feeling a little froggy and I want to try to get a little more damage in, or I want to be a little more sneaky or do something. My opponent knows I have a Storm Citadel. He can wait it out and see if I'm going to use that Citadel or not. I'm going to go ahead and play an Art of War. Now, because I played Lord Oathkey, Art of War gives all of my Jotun combatants +2/+2. So now, instead of these being a 6/5 and a 4/3 and a 2/1, this is a 6/5 and a 4/3. That's a pretty big attack. And my opponent, that Art of War is on the command chain. It hasn't resolved yet, so these +2/+2s don't actually apply to my combatants yet. My opponent may go, whoa, that's not good. Like, I can't allow the Art of War to happen. So he responds with a tactic card called Interference. And Interference says it's only playable if he controls a combatant in the hidden zone, which we're going to assume he has, and that he can then put a diffuse counter on target condition card controlled by opponent. And so all this text is saying that. I could read the whole card to you, but that's ultimately what this card is doing. Now, Interference is going to target the Art of War. Makes sense. We don't want our opponent to get Art of War on the board. Now, I can go, okay, well, fine, you did that. I'm going to go ahead and do a Storm Citadel to give a +2/+2 to my Grey Harrier, just in case there's any shenanigans coming up. That +2/+2 is now on the command chain and will resolve to the Grey Harrier upon resolution. My opponent goes, I don't like that either. I made 7 Sularium this turn. So I will spend all 7 of my Sularium to play a Sularium Tactical Assault Beam targeting the Storm Citadel. I go, great. I don't have a response to the Tactical Assault Beam as the Jotun player, so I pass. My opponent says, I pass. We now resolve another command chain. And remember, these thresholds are all met because we started with 4 influence on my side, and my opponent would have had 3 on his side, assuming I was the initiative player. I played no tactics or conditions that exceeded a threshold of 3. All right. So the first step is to resolve the Tactical Assault Beam for 7 damage to the Storm Citadel. Because it's enough to kill the Storm Citadel, I do lose another 4 health, and I go to 20 health. In addition, I also get the effect, the +2/+2 effect becomes diffused because of the ability from the Solarium Tactical Assault Beam, which says at the very end of it, target combatant or site controlled by opponent is damaged, which it was, by a Solarium Tactical Assault Beam, diffuse that target's abilities or effects. So we diffuse the +2/+2, meaning my Grey Harrier is not even going to get the +2/+2 from this as well. Now the interference resolves, targeting the Art of War, and when the Art of War comes back to my influence row face up, it comes back to my influence row with a interference counter on it and cannot provide a +2/+2. So therefore, I'm still only hitting for 6 into the Solarium Mining Station, which we can no longer stop any effects or damage dealt, but I'm able to do 2 points of blast through plus the cost of the site is 2, and apply the 2 attack value from the mining station to my Condor, leaving it at 1. I deal 4 damage to the Scythian player. And in turn, my Red Condor does live. However, I took some significant losses in this round just through the playing of opponent's tactics. I wasn't actually even attacked, and I was still hammered by my opponent's abilities and tactics. So you can see how tactics and conditions can drastically affect the gameplay and drastically change the way combat interacts and drastically change the amount of resources I make. And every single aspect of the command window is capable of doing that. There are 8 command windows in each player's turn. So we've got 8 of them listed here. And those 8 command windows are when players may take actions. So you can do actions, any action on your turn or any action on your opponent's turn. In turn, the only rule or stipulation to that is you must meet the threshold requirement of the card played. So I had 4 influence generated, and I played an Art of War, which cost 4. I played a Strength in Numbers, which cost 4 threshold, and I played a Spoils of War, which cost 2 threshold. So remember, the generation is the important part here, not what's in the pool, because I spent all 4 of my influence early on to play the Storm Citadel. If you have any questions on how the command window works, how to play tactic or condition cards, please reach out to us. You can message me on Board Game Geek. You can message us or comment here to this video. You can send us a direct message or Twitter questions. You can contact us on our website. Just remember this: if a tactic card is played from the influence row, it resolves to the influence row. If it's played from your hand, it resolves to the damage pile. We discussed that in the types of cards. Condition cards only operate ongoing from your influence row. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks again so much for your time today. Thanks for taking a look at the game and understanding some of the nuances that go into the command window. I look forward to hearing all about your battles, and I hope to see you on the battlefield soon.